I wasn't supposed to hear any of it. The voice memo app was still running from my drive home. I'd been recording myself, rehearsing what to say to my sister about Mom's estate. Some habit my therapist suggested, and I'd tossed my phone on the kitchen counter, still recording, when I walked in the back door. I didn't even remember to stop it. Not until 11 that night, when I was scrolling through my recordings looking for the one I actually wanted, and saw a file that was 58 minutes long. I almost deleted it without listening. Almost. Instead, I sat on the edge of the bathtub, put in my earbuds, and pressed play. And somewhere around minute 6, I heard my husband's voice, low, easy, the voice I used to fall asleep to, say something that made the room tilt sideways. "She still doesn't suspect anything. You worry too much." That was the moment my life split into a before and an after. Before you keep watching, comment where you're watching from, and subscribe if you believe the truth always finds a way out, no matter how carefully someone tries to bury it. 3 months earlier, none of this would have made sense to me. I'm Claire Whitmore, 39 years old, a pediatric occupational therapist in a quiet suburb outside Denver, married to David for 12 years, mother to 2 boys, Noah, 7, and Miles, 4. We'd hired Priya, our nanny, 8 months ago. After David's promotion meant longer hours, and my clinic added a second location I now had to manage. Priya was 26, warm with the kids, endlessly patient with Miles's tantrums, the kind of hire you thank God for during the chaos of a Tuesday morning. I liked her. That's the part that still makes my stomach turn. The cracks started small, the way they always do. David began coming home later, not dramatically later, just enough that dinner sat cooling twice a week instead of never. He started taking calls in the garage, door shut, voice pitched low enough that I couldn't make out words through the drywall. When I asked, he said it was a client account going sideways. I believed him, because why wouldn't I? 12 years builds a certain kind of trust you don't question over a closed door and a quiet voice. What I did notice, the thing I couldn't explain away, was how the house felt different when Priya was in it. Not wrong exactly, just warmer in a way that excluded me. David laughed more on the days she stayed late to cover a work dinner. He started coming home from the office and going straight to find her in the kitchen, before he even said hello to me, asking about her day like it mattered more than mine. I told myself I was imagining it. My sister Renee, the one person I tell everything, said otherwise. "Claire, you've mentioned her 4 times in the last 2 phone calls. Not the boys." Her, I laughed it off over coffee, the way you do when you're not ready to hear something. But that night, lying in bed while David scrolled his phone beside me, I noticed something I'd never paid attention to before. He angled the screen away from me. Just slightly. Just enough. Small things kept stacking. A missing hour on a Wednesday, he said, was a late meeting that wasn't on his shared calendar. A receipt from a coffee shop 11 minutes from his office. Time-stamped for a day he told me he'd worked through lunch at his desk. Priya asking to switch her schedule twice to stay later on days David's calendar showed nothing at all. I didn't confront anyone. I didn't have anything to confront them with, just a feeling. And feelings don't hold up against 2 people who've clearly gotten good at covering for each other. So I did what I always do when I'm scared of an answer. I watched. I waited. And I kept recording those little voice memos in my car, rehearsing conversations I was too afraid to have out loud yet, never imagining that habit would be the thing that finally showed me the truth. Then came the Tuesday I walked in early from a canceled appointment and forgot to stop the recording. 58 minutes. My husband's voice and hers in my own kitchen, while I sat in the driveway outside for 4 minutes, deciding whether I was ready to lose the life I thought I had. I didn't march inside. I didn't confront anyone in the driveway with mascara running and my hands shaking. That's not who I am. And honestly, that's not what would have worked. I sat there for those 4 minutes, engine ticking as it cooled, and I made a decision that would define the next 6 weeks of my life. I was not going to react. I was going to gather. I went inside and greeted Priya like nothing had happened. I asked about Miles's nap, complimented the snacks she'd made the boys, told David over text that I'd be late for dinner because of paperwork. My voice didn't shake once. 18 years of managing anxious kids and their frightened parents in a clinic had taught me one thing that suddenly felt very useful: you can hold a calm face over a screaming interior for as long as you need to. That night, in the guest bathroom with the fan running for cover, I listened to the full 58 minutes twice. I took notes on my phone under a folder labeled Insurance Renewal, which felt darkly funny even as my hands trembled typing it. What I heard wasn't just an affair. It was worse, in its own quiet way. David wasn't sneaking around out of passion or weakness. He was calculating. At one point, Priya asked him, nervous, what would happen if Claire ever found out? And David actually laughed and said, she won't. She trusts me too much to even look. That sentence did something to me. It didn't just hurt, it made something in my chest go cold and very, very clear. Because he was right about one thing, I had trusted him completely. But he was about to learn that trust, once broken like this, doesn't come back as weakness. It comes back as precision. Over the following 2 weeks, I became a quiet observer in my own home. I started noticing what I'd trained myself not to see. The way David's calendar app showed client dinner on nights, his card statement, which I could see through our joint account, showed charges at a wine bar 4 minutes from Priya's apartment, not his office. I started keeping a private log, dates and times, cross-referenced against his stated whereabouts. Not out of paranoia, out of necessity. I also did something I'm not proud of, but don't regret. I bought a second phone, prepaid, cash only, and I used it exclusively for research. I contacted a family law attorney named Diane Okafor, recommended by a friend from my book club, whose own divorce had gone, in her words, cleaner than most, because she thought ahead. Diane's first question to me wasn't about David. It was about the nanny agreement. Do you have anything in writing about her role, her hours, her employment terms? I did. I'm the one who'd handled the hiring paperwork 8 months ago, back when I still believed I was building a life instead of documenting evidence for one falling apart. Priya's contract, which I had drafted myself using a template Diane later told me was unusually thorough for a nanny agreement, included a standard morality and conduct clause, boilerplate language, about maintaining professional boundaries with the family. I hadn't thought twice about including it. Now it mattered more than I could have known. Diane laid it out plainly. If this recording is accurate, and legal in your state, which Colorado is, since you're a party to the conversation, you have grounds for both the divorce settlement and grounds to terminate her employment for cause, without severance, and potentially pursue a breach of contract claim. But Claire, I need you to understand something. The recording gives you leverage. What you do with the next month determines whether you use that leverage well or waste it. I asked her what using it well looked like. She smiled, the kind of tired, knowing smile of someone who'd seen this exact story 100 times with different names. It looks like patience. Let him think he's still safe. People who feel safe get careless. And careless people give you more than you ever asked for. So I waited. I smiled at breakfast. I asked David about his stressful week. I let Priya show me photos of the boys' art projects and told her they were wonderful, meaning it, because the boys' art actually was wonderful, And I refused to let what their father was doing poison the one relationship in this house that hadn't lied to me yet. But every night, after the house went quiet, I built my case. And 3 weeks in, David made the mistake Diane said he would. He got careless. The mistake came on a Thursday, which felt fitting. Somehow Thursdays had become David's late meeting day, the day I'd learned to expect a text around 6, saying he'd grab dinner near the office. This particular Thursday, he texted at 5:47. Running late, don't wait up, big proposal due tomorrow. I already knew, from 3 weeks of quiet cross-referencing, that there was no proposal. I'd found the actual client deadline in an email he'd left open on our shared home laptop 2 days earlier, due the following Monday, not Friday. He'd built himself a lie with a shelf life, and forgotten to check the expiration date. That night, instead of waiting up angry, I did something calculated. I texted Priya, casual and warm, the way I always did. Hey, would you mind staying an extra hour tomorrow? I have a late client thing. She said yes immediately, no hesitation. The easy yes of someone who had no idea I already knew exactly why she'd say yes to almost anything involving extra time in this house. The next evening, I didn't go to a late client thing. I drove 2 streets over. Parked outside my neighbor Angela's house, a friend from the boys' school, who'd agreed to let me sit in her driveway with a view of my own front porch, and I waited. At 7:40, David's car pulled in. Not from the office direction, from the direction of Priya's apartment complex, 4 minutes away, the same one from the wine bar receipts. I watched him walk up to our own front door like a man arriving somewhere safe, somewhere he still fully believed was his.